What is gluconeogenesis?
Synthesis of glucose from non-carbohydrate.
So synthesis of glucose from non-carbohydrate source. So when does our body require gluconeogenesis?
Non-fed condition.
What is that non-fed condition called?
Fasting or prolonged fast.
Fasting.
Okay. So in that sense, more precise terminology will be prolonged fasting and starvation. Why prolonged fasting? Because during fasting, prolonged fasting means the fasting that is after 1 day. Fasting after 1 day is called prolonged fasting. And starvation is the, generally you can take the starvation as the time is about 1 week. The fasting after 1 week is called starvation, or 3 days to 1 week. After 3 days, if actually fasting after 3 days is called starvation. So if fasting is more than 1 day, after 1 day, after 24 hours, after about 24 hours, this is called prolonged fasting. So what happens during fed condition? Our blood glucose, main important thing is blood glucose has to be maintained. So in fed condition, blood glucose is maintained by the food we take, but during fasting condition, what happens? First, this blood glucose will be maintained by glycogen that is present in liver, and that glycogen lasts for about 18 hours. And after glycogen is consumed, the source of glucose will be supplied by, main source of glucose is gluconeogenesis. Okay, so this is the significance of gluconeogenesis. So gluconeogenesis supplies glucose during fasting condition, especially prolonged fasting condition and starvation condition. Now, did you understand when is it synthesis, this supply glucose? Did you understand this?
Yeah.
No. So gluconeogenesis is it happens from non-carbohydrate sources. So what are non-carbohydrate? What are the nutrients, non-carbohydrate sources? What is this?
Fats.
Okay, fat, and then
Proteins.
protein. Fat, protein, and lactic acid. Okay, fat, protein, and lactic acid. In fat, so fat, this is made up of what? The storage form of fat is what? In our body, which fat is stored in our body? Fat is what? Triglyceride. Okay. So triglyceride is composed of fatty acid and glycerol. Now, among this fatty acid and glycerol, which will form glucose? Will this both fatty acid and glycerol form glucose?
I think it should be only glycerol.
Only glycerol, because fatty acid cannot form glucose. Fatty acid will convert into acetyl coenzyme. Beta oxidation will happen for fatty acid. It is not converted into glucose. Only glycerol, in fact, glycerol will convert into glucose, not fatty acid. So fat, glycerol in fat, and protein, amino acids. All amino acids from, almost all amino acids from protein can form glucose, and lactic acid. So these three components, remember these three components: glycerol, amino acids, and lactic acid. These three are the non-carbohydrate sources that will form gluconeogenesis. So now this is gluconeogenesis. What is gluconeogenesis? Now, how does gluconeogenesis occur? How does gluconeogenesis occur? Does anybody know? See, what is glycolysis? Tell me. What do you do in glycolysis?
Breakdown of glucose.
Do what? Try to speak complete sentence, okay?
For glycolysis, breaking glucose to pyruvate.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. So glucose will break down to pyruvate. Okay. Now, when we talk about gluconeogenesis, we actually start pathway from pyruvate. Okay. So when we have to study gluconeogenesis, we start pathway from gluconeogenesis. This pyruvate, and this pyruvate to glucose is gluconeogenesis. Now this pyruvate can come from amino acid. Okay, this pyruvate can come from amino acid. It can come from lactate. It can come from, so in between, glycerol can join the pathway in between. So this is how gluconeogenesis will happen. So we first study the pathway of gluconeogenesis from pyruvate to glucose, and we generally we generally call that this process of gluconeogenesis, essentially opposite of glycolysis. Okay, this gluconeogenesis process is opposite to glycolysis. Can you see it is opposite to glycolysis? Formation of glucose from pyruvate. Can you see these two processes are opposite processes?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, and you can see both processes are irreversible process, and this glycolysis is reversible process or irreversible process. Whole process glycolysis, reversible or irreversible process?
Irreversible.
Reversible.
Irreversible.
Irreversible. The ultimate, the complete, if you make a sum of the whole pathway, it is irreversible. How many steps are there in glycolysis? Speak out, please. I have already written.
10.
10. How many irreversible steps?
3.
Yes, 3 steps. 3 steps are irreversible. Which are those steps? First, third, and last. 10th step. First, third, and last steps are irreversible. And what are reversible? Other 7 steps are reversible. Now glycolysis becomes, the whole pathway of glycolysis becomes irreversible because of these 3 steps. Because of these 3 steps, the whole pathway of glycolysis becomes irreversible. So now, everything is gone. Now, when we see about gluconeogenesis, glucose, pyruvate to glucose. When we talk about gluconeogenesis, how many steps gluconeogenesis utilizes? All the 7 reversible steps are same. This is glycolysis, gluconeogenesis. So this glycolysis here is 7 reversible step and 3 irreversible step. Because of this 3 irreversible step, the nature of glycolysis is irreversible. Which are those irreversible steps? These are: first step, all kinase. Third step, it is also kinase step, and last step. This is hexokinase or glucokinase. This is which? Phosphofructokinase, and this and PFK. And this is pyruvate kinase. Then this step, this is also kinase. All kinases step. This irreversible step make this reversible. Now 7 reversible steps are there. Okay, 7 reversible steps. So 7 reversible steps are same for both. They are same step because this reversible means it can go either forward or this one, this direction. But this 3 irreversible step is on towards downward. These 3 irreversible steps are towards downward. Then these 3 irreversible steps will be replaced by steps. Okay, this in place of this 3 reversible steps, there are 4 irreversible steps. 2 plus 1 plus 1. This last step is replaced by first 2 steps. First 2 steps. Third step is replaced by this step in middle step. This third step is replaced by this third last step. You can call it third last step, and first step is replaced by last step. So there are 3 irreversible steps catalyzed by 3 irreversible enzymes, and at the place of this there are 3 irreversible steps catalyzed by 3 different enzymes. So these 3 enzymes are replaced by 4 enzymes here. Now, did you understand the basic difference between glycolysis and gluconeogenesis? Tell me, in the pathway.
Yeah. Sorry, can you just take the irreversible steps for glucogen?
From glycolysis?
No, the irreversible steps for gluconeogenesis. Something. That's it.
Please repeat your question, please.
He said if you can repeat the steps for gluconeogenesis, the irreversible steps.
I will repeat. I will talk about whole pathway. I am telling you just basic difference. Just remember the basic difference. The 10 steps are here. Okay. Glycolysis. Among that 10 steps, 7 steps are reversible, and that 7-step reversible steps are similar, same steps. In gluconeogenesis also, only these 3 irreversible steps are replaced by 4 irreversible steps, and that is what I want to mention. Did you understand up to this? I will talk about this 4 irreversible steps in detail. Did you understand this?
Yeah.
So we will focus on this 4 irreversible step only of gluconeogenesis. Now, and you know this glycolysis happens during well-fed condition, and this is fasting condition. And you know this 2 pathway cannot happen together. Okay? Did you understand this? These are mutually exclusive pathway. Did you understand this? These 2 pathways are mutually exclusive pathway. In fasting condition, only gluconeogenesis will happen. In fed condition, only glycolysis will happen. In one cell, only one reaction will happen. And we are using only hepatocyte. We generally talk about hepatocyte. So in hepatocyte, during fed condition, glycolysis will happen. During fasting condition, what will happen?
Gluconeogenesis.
And do you think this both pathway will happen together?
No.
No, they cannot happen together. This is the very basic. The things I told you here, similarity. You can see this is similarity. 7 irreversible steps, reversible are similarity. And these differences, these are differences. So this similarity and differences are important. If you understand glycolysis, you can automatically understand gluconeogenesis. Okay, major part of gluconeogenetic pathway you already know. You already have known. Now you can see this is how there is 11 steps, total 11 steps in gluconeogenesis and 10 steps in glycolysis. And this 11 steps and 11 ATP. Remember that 11 ATP will be utilized for synthesis of one glucose molecule, 11 ATP. Now, can we go to our pathways with this background? So, why does it happen? Why gluconeogenesis? Just answer this question. Don't look at your slide, just try to answer based on your concept so that you will remember. Why gluconeogenesis happen? Why does gluconeogenesis?
To get glucose in the system.
To maintain blood glucose, okay? To maintain blood glucose during prolonged fasting condition. Where does this gluconeogenesis happen? Which organ tissue? It happens in liver and kidney. And this involves both compartments. It involves mitochondria plus cytosol. When does it happen? You already know. Prolonged fasting condition. And similar to this prolonged fasting condition, diabetes mellitus is also like prolonged fasting condition. Insulin, here prolonged fasting condition is referred by glucagon domination. Here also glucagon will be dominant because insulin will become functionless in diabetes. That is why prolonged fasting and insulin. Now, what are the enzymes? Main enzymes, these are the 4 enzymes. You can see these are the 4 enzymes. This is the 2 enzymes of first stage. These are the 2 enzymes of first step. This is second enzyme of this first enzyme. This 2 enzyme refer to the 10th enzyme of glycolysis. And this second is the second enzyme is second last step. This is the second last step is second enzyme of glycolysis. And this is last step is first step of glycolysis. So you can see in glycolysis you can see at the third enzyme is PFK, phosphofructokinase. Here fructose 1,6-bis phosphatase. This is kinase, this is stase. So you can see this enzyme different. This is also glucose 6-phosphatase and this is glucokinase or hexokinase. So these are the difference. Mainly this is the main difference in gluconeogenesis, that is from glycolysis. Now what is vitamin? All vitamin biotin will be required. We have seen vitamin being required in fatty acid synthesis also. Now glucose synthesis also require biotin. That is why if biotin deficiency is there, severe biotin deficiency can cause hypoglycemia. So glucose synthesis require biotin, manganese, magnesium. And this is vitamin B2 because FAD in the form FAD and vitamin B3. This is NAD is vitamin B3. So FAD, NAD, and these are the biotin, magnesium, manganese. So what are the reactant? What is the product? Reactant is non-carbohydrate sources. Glucose is synthesized from non-carbohydrate. This is reactant, this is product. Now how does it happen? Let's discuss about it. So now let's talk about this very important pathway. So as we have seen, glycolysis happening from this glucose to glucose 6-phosphate. Glucose 6-phosphate will convert into fructose 6-phosphate, through one irreversible pathway. This is irreversible pathway. This is the first step of glucose synthesis. This is the first step of glycolysis. So this is catalyzed by third enzyme, PFK. So this fructose 6-phosphate will convert into fructose 1,6-bis phosphate. Now fructose 1,6-bis phosphate ultimately will convert into through different compound through glyceraldehyde, then glyceric acid, then phosphoenol pyruvate. Through reversible reaction, it will convert into phosphoenol pyruvate, and then from phosphoenol pyruvate, this phosphoenol pyruvate will convert into what? Pyruvate. This will convert into one reaction only. This will convert into pyruvate. And this pyruvate inside cytosol, not in mitochondria. This enzyme is, what is the name of this? Pyruvate kinase. So this first reaction, this is first reaction. This is in glycolysis done by glucokinase or hexokinase. Did you understand this? Glycolysis will happen like this. Now you can see this is first enzyme, this is third, this is 10th enzyme. You can last enzyme. Now 10th last enzyme is replaced by 2 steps. This last step is replaced by 2 steps, and 2 steps is replaced by 2 enzymes. One enzyme is pyruvate carboxylase. This is pyruvate carboxylase, and this 10th step replaced by 2 reaction. And second enzyme is pyruvate phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase. You can, in short, you can call PEP carboxykinase, phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase. So this 10th pyruvate kinase is replaced by 2 steps. This is replaced by phosphofructokinase is replaced by fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase, and this is replaced by glucokinase. Glucokinase is replaced by glucose 6-phosphatase. Now, did you understand this? Different enzyme.
Sorry, I missed out on something. The
Yes, tell me.
Phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase, what step is it being replaced?
Phosphoenol pyruvate to. So let's see this. Let me draw complete glycolysis. Okay. So now, so in glycolysis, what will happen? Glucose converts into what? Tell me.
Pyruvate.
No, steps. I am talking about steps. First step. Glucose will convert into?
Glucose 6-phosphate.
Okay. Glucose 6-phosphate. And then this glucose 6-phosphate will convert into? What? Tell me. Anyone?
Fructose 6-phosphate.
Fructose 6-phosphate.
6-phosphate.
Okay, this is a reversible reaction. Okay, and then this will convert into, I'm not writing enzyme here. Okay, I'll write this enzyme only. So this enzyme is glucokinase or hexokinase. Now this fructose 6-phosphate will convert into what?
Fructose 1,6-bisphosphate.
This is actually irreversible enzyme. This is irreversible step. So fructose 6-phosphate will convert into fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. Okay. Now fructose 1,6-bisphosphate will convert into what?
Phosphophenol pyruvate.
Not phosphoenol pyruvate. Fructose 1 will break aldehyde, dihydroxyacetone phosphate and
glyceraldehyde.
Yes, okay, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate plus dihydroxyacetone DHAP, dihydroxyacetone phosphate, and these two can convert into each other. So ultimately there will be 2 glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will now convert into what?
1,3-biphosphoglycerates.
1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. Okay, this is also a reversible reaction. Now this 1,6-bisphosphoglycerate, there will be production of 1 NADH here, NADH. from NAD plus. Now from 1,3-bis phosphoglycerate, what is produced now?
3-phosphoglycerate.
3-phosphoglycerate. Okay, this is also reversible reaction, and it is glycerate phosphoglycerate kinase, and this enzyme is what? There is production of ATP here. Okay, 2 ATP, 2 NADH. Now, so 3-phosphoglycerate will convert into what?
2-phosphoglycerate.
Okay, 2-phosphoglycerate. And 2-phosphoglycerate here, this is also reversible, and then 2-phosphoglycerate will convert into
Phosphoenol pyruvate.
Yes, phosphoenol pyruvate. And this phosphoenol pyruvate will convert into pyruvate. Did you understand up to this? You know the glycolysis. So this is done by first step. Now what is this? Is third step. It's done by phosphofructokinase. Now, so this is third step is done by phosphofructokinase. Now this is 10th step. It is done by pyruvate kinase. Did you understand up to this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Now let's see this. Let's talk about gluconeogenesis. So this is happening during fed condition. Now in fasting condition, what will happen? This pyruvate will convert into oxaloacetate by enzyme pyruvate carboxylase. Okay, this is biotin containing enzyme. Whenever I call carboxylase, it requires biotin and ATP. Did you get this?
Yeah.
And oxaloacetate again will convert into phosphoenol pyruvate by enzyme phosphoenol pyruvate carboxy kinase. Did you understand this? Now phosphoenol pyruvate will convert into 2-phosphoglycerate, and this 2-phosphoglycerate will convert into 3-phosphoglycerate by some enzyme, mutase enzyme, and this will convert into what? 3-phosphoglycerate will convert into reversible reaction by utilization of 2 ATP. It will convert into 1,3-bis phosphoglycerate, and then utilization of 2 NADH. It will convert into 1,3-bis phosphoglycerate will convert into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and this glyceraldehyde 2-glyceraldehyde phosphate will convert into fructose 1,6-bis phosphate. 1,6-bis phosphate. Now this is irreversible reaction. So here different enzyme will come. The enzyme that will release a phosphate group. This is diphosphate, bisphosphate. That is by release of one phosphate. And phosphatase removal will be done by phosphatase. The enzyme will be fructose 1,6-bis phosphatase. Did you understand up to this?
Yeah.
Yes. Now fructose 6-phosphate will convert into glucose 6-phosphate. Glucose 6-phosphate will convert into glucose. The enzyme here required is again removal of phosphate. This enzyme is phosphatase. Which phosphatase? Glucose 6-phosphatase. Did you understand this?
Yeah.
Okay. Now this pathway happens in this pathway. This one first reaction. This first reaction happens in this conversion of pyruvate here. This happens in mitochondria. First reaction of gluconeogenesis happens in mitochondria. Glycogenesis whole reaction happens in cytosol, but in mitochondria the first reaction happens in mitochondria. For gluconeogenesis, first reaction happens in mitochondria. Conversion of pyruvate to oxaloacetate. Now this oxaloacetate will convert into phosphoenol pyruvate. That reaction happens in this oxaloacetate come out of the cell as oxaloacetate, and this oxaloacetate convert into phosphoenol pyruvate, and then respective reaction will happen. Now, did you understand up to this how this gluconeogenesis utilize two compartment? One reaction in mitochondria, rest of all reaction happens in cytosol. Did you understand this?
Yeah.
Did you understand? Okay. Now let me do one more thing. Can you see how many ATP is utilized here? Let's calculate the. Now here also at this step also 2 GTP will be utilized. GTP. Okay. Here also 2 ATP will be utilized. 2 ATP per glucose. 2 ATP. This both step will require 4 ATP. 2 plus 2. So can you see 4 ATP from here? How many ATP is utilized here? See, 2 ATP. And then what is the equivalent ATP? 2 NADH is equal to 5 ATP. So how many ATP is required for gluconeogenesis? Did you all understand the whole process? Yes? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Can we move forward? So this is all about gluconeogenesis. Now you understood the gluconeogenesis. That is gluconeogenesis. So now can you understand this pathway now? See this pathway yourself and decide if you understood or not. This is conversion of pyruvate into oxaloacetate. This oxaloacetate come out of the cell through a transport. Oxaloacetate convert into phosphoenol pyruvate by second reaction. These two are irreversible reaction. Through a series of reversible reaction, fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is formed. This will convert into fructose 6-phosphate by the enzyme phosphatase, fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase. Now a series of reaction, one reaction, this glucose 6-phosphate will form, and this glucose 6-phosphate will convert into glucose by glucose 6-phosphatase. Now did you all understand the pathway as such? Forget about this transportation right now. Just remember, oxaloacetate come out of the mitochondria through some transport. It has to convert into malate. Malate will come, malate will again convert into oxaloacetate. And net reaction, you can see oxaloacetate is coming out of the mitochondria. But indirectly, it will come from mitochondria indirectly. Did you understand this?
Yeah.
This is gluconeogenesis. Main pathway, understanding of pathway of gluconeogenesis is this. Now, we will talk about regulation. For gluconeogenesis, this reaction, the first reaction is very important reaction. Number one reaction is the most important reaction in gluconeogenesis regulation. One of the most important reaction. This step and this step, two steps are very important steps for gluconeogenesis regulation. Okay, this third last step and first step. You can see here this pyruvate carboxylase is active. It gets activated during fed condition, and it is during fasting condition. It is activated because of acetyl coenzyme A. You can see acetyl coenzyme A activates this. This is very important concept. And you know, where does this acetyl coenzyme A comes from? During fasting condition, because during fasting condition there happens beta oxidation. It happens beta oxidation. So this acetyl coenzyme A will come from beta oxidation. And if acetyl coenzyme A is very high inside cell, that will cause activation of this very particular enzyme, pyruvate carboxylase. And this, as I've told you, all carboxylases are biotin containing enzymes. This will cause add one CO group here, CO2 group, and this pyruvate will be converted into oxaloacetate. Actually, I have taught this reaction in the beginning in enzyme only. If you can remember, this is pyruvate. This is pyruvate. Can you remember? Pyruvate. One carboxy group is added. This becomes oxaloacetate. This becomes oxaloacetate. So this is oxaloacetate. So pyruvate will convert into oxaloacetate and activated by acetyl coenzyme. A very important concept. This pyruvate carboxylase is activated by acetyl coenzyme A. And now this pyruvate can come from amino acid and lactate. So pyruvate can come from amino acid, alanine or other amino acid, or it can come from lactate also. Did you all understand this pathway? Did you understand this regulation of pyruvate carboxylase? It is activated by acetyl coenzyme. Okay, so now let's talk about this. So you can see, as I've told you, this is the picture you already know. I don't have to explain this picture. So this is a picture showing whole context. Now you can see this happens during fasting condition. In fasting condition, glucagon is very high, CEMP is high inside cell, and then protein kinase A will stimulate phosphorylation. That is the context inside cell, hepatocyte. So what does it do? This during fasting condition, there will be lipolysis because fatty acid oxidation occurs during fasting condition. So lipolysis will generate glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and then fatty acid. Now fatty acid oxidation, though fatty acid will not convert directly into glucose, but fatty acid oxidation is very important. You know, the gluconeogenesis requires ATP. One gluconeogenesis requires 11 ATP. And this 11 ATP comes from beta oxidation of fatty acid. So indirectly, this lipid contribute for this fatty acid contribute for gluconeogenesis by supplying ATP. So fat is also very important part of gluconeogenesis. Now this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can convert into glucose through this pathway. This glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will convert into glycerol 3-phosphate will convert into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate by release of 1-NADH. So 1-NADH, and this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can convert into glucose this pathway. Did you understand how this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate converts into glucose? Tell me, did you understand how this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate converts into glucose? And what is the role of free fatty acid in gluconeogenesis?
Yeah.
So it supplies 11 ATP and it can be converted into glucose like this. Now, so during fasting condition only, you can say amino acid catabolism also happens. So amino and acid. So from amino acid, amino will be released and amino will convert into urea. But this carbon chain will convert to glucose. So this carbon chain will convert into glucose and it will join this whole pathway. So few amino acids are there, valine, isoleucine and methionine. This will convert into succinate. VIM will convert into succinate through propionic acid pathway. Just remember the pathway. You don't have to go into detail of the pathway right now. So this will convert into succinic acid and many other glucose will join this alpha ketoglutarate. Many other amino acid will join this. Some amino acid will join this also. Some amino acid will join as malate also like this. So oxaloacetate, alpha ketoglutarate. So many amino acid will join like this Krebs cycle. And through Krebs cycle, it will convert into glucose. Yes, tell me.
Is it glucose that goes through the propionic acid pathway, or?
So I will tell you first, explain you about this amino acid. Okay, you must be confused about this. No, since now I have told you the gluconeogenesis is conversion of pyruvate to glucose. Okay, pyruvate to glucose. Now one more thing is coming into existence. Okay, actually I'll tell you, during fasting condition, fasting and prolonged fasting or starvation condition, in hepatocyte, so Krebs cycle during fasting condition. Krebs cycle, do you remember the Krebs cycle does not catabolize? I told you Krebs cycle does not catabolize this acetyl coenzyme A into carbon dioxide. That acetyl coenzyme may come from fatty acid. Rather, acetyl coenzyme may convert into ketone body. Do you remember this?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember this? Now, this acetyl coenzyme will not convert into carbon dioxide. During fed condition, the purpose of this Krebs cycle is to extract energy from acetyl coenzyme. But during fasting condition, the purpose of Krebs cycle changes. The purpose of Krebs cycle becomes different. So, purpose of Krebs cycle is to help gluconeogenesis. Fed condition during fasting condition, fasting and starvation. Did you understand this up to this? Purpose of Krebs cycle changes?
Yes.
Okay. So I will tell you how this purpose changes, how this Krebs cycle actually help gluconeogenesis. We will talk on the question how PCA cycle or Krebs cycle help gluconeogenesis. During fasting condition, fasting and starvation. So we will talk on this question. Okay, so let's see. So we have some other slides to talk on this question. So let's pause this here. Now we will go to other questions. So let's see this first. Can you see this? Protein will break into, will release amino group, and amino will change into urea, and this protein carbon skeleton will convert into glucose, because blood glucose has to be maintained, at least for RBC and brain. Other tissue can utilize fat, but RBC can never utilize fat. It requires glucose. Brain can adjust on ketone body after 3 days, but before 3 days, brain also requires glucose. That is why this. Now this amino, this carbon skeleton, this is carbon skeleton, amino acid, and from amino this is carbon, devoid of carbon, devoid of amino is carbon skeleton. This is called organic acid or keto acid. This becomes keto acid. And this keto acid, either it will convert into glucose, and some ketone body, some keto acid of this amino acid will convert into ketone body. Now there are all amino acid will convert into glucose. These are called glucogenic amino acid. All amino acid will convert into glucose. These are called glucogenic amino acid, except these two, L and L square, except leucine and lysine. Leucine is branch chain amino acid, lysine is basic amino acid. Did you understand this? All amino acid produce glucose, except this and this. Did you understand? Okay. Now, so these are other. There are few amino acids. I have given mnemonics only. PITT. P for phenyl alanine. I for isoleucine, and then T for threonine, other T for tyrosine, other T for tryptophan. You can see there are all aromatic amino acids are there. Tyrosine and tryptophan both are aromatic amino acid, and phenylalanine. All three aromatic amino acid will produce both glucose and ketone body. And this isoleucine and threonine will also produce both glucose and ketone body. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let's see how this amino acid form glucose. Now you can see this. So let's erase this. There are few amino acids. Some amino acid you don't have to remember right now. I will give you mnemonics. If you can remember, that's good. This is actually very important. This is a very important actually slide. You can say this concept is very important. Which amino acid join as which intermediate? So this amino acid will join as pyruvate here, and this pyruvate will convert directly into pyruvate carboxylase to oxaloacetate, and you know that this oxaloacetate will convert into glucose. Now some amino acid will join in the Krebs cycle as alpha ketoglutarate. Now you know alpha ketoglutarate will convert into succinate, succinate into fumarate, fumarate into oxaloacetate. So there is no pyruvate intermediate directly. This reaction will not be there. The oxaloacetate directly will convert into glucose. Did you understand this? How this amino acid will form alpha ketoglutarate? I'm not going into detail. Just remember this amino acid will convert into alpha ketoglutarate. Alpha ketoglutarate through this pathway will produce glucose. So this is the purpose of TCA cycle during fasting condition. It is helping this way for gluconeogenesis. Now few amino acids, I told you VIM and T also. So this amino acid will convert into succinate, and this succinate will convert into fumarate, fumarate into oxaloacetate and into glucose. You can see some amino acid convert into succinate, and this two amino acid will convert into fumarate, and fumarate into oxaloacetate and then glucose. These two amino acid will convert into oxaloacetate and oxaloacetate into glucose. Now did you all understand this concept? I'm not going to tell you which amino acid. Just remember few. This is how amino acid joins this Krebs cycle, and this intermediate will ultimately convert into glucose. Okay. Did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You can memorize this also. You can memorize this whole concept through this mnemonics also. Gastric pi. So this amino acid will convert into glycine, alanine, serine, threonine, tryptophan will convert into pyruvate. So this are glumine provided for his conglomerate. So conglomerate is represent alpha ketoglutarate. Conglomerate ketoglutarate. So R means arginine, glue. That is, conglomerate is a verb that you use to attach different type of stones or different color material together. So this is called conglomerate. Glue, you know what is glue, to paste something. So glue and glumine, just I have added glumine. Glumine, glutamate and glutamine provided for proline. HIS, his for histidine. So you can see this. R, glumine provided for his conglomerate. So you can easily memorize this. All amino acid will join as alpha ketoglutarate, and you can easily remember gastric, glycine, alanine, serine, T, threonine, and tryptophan. Gastric, C, gastric, pylorus. So gastric, your stomach has pylorus. So you can remember that way. Gastric has stomach has pylorus. So this gastric will reach to pyruvate, and pyruvate will convert into glucose. So this is how you can memorize. And I have color coded this. So you can see all green are pure glucogenic. All green colored amino acids are pure glucogenic. And this black colored are both glucogenic plus ketogenic. Ketogenic means they will produce acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl coenzyme. And this acetyl coenzyme will convert into ketone body. I have already discussed ketone body synthesis. 3 ketone bodies are there. What are them? What are those 3 ketone bodies? Can anybody tell me?
Phenylalanine, isoleucine.
Not amino acid, keto acid.
Oh.
Ketone bodies. So yes, I understood what you told. This amino acid will produce ketone body. Okay, these are ketogenic as well as glucogenic. But I am asking you what are the names of ketone body? There are 3 ketone body. One starts from A, other also starts from A, and third starts from B. Acetone, acetate, and then third is beta hydroxybutyrate. Remember these 3 name of these 3 ketone bodies. These are very important. Now, so will you memorize these 2? 1 and 1, 2. And then third also you can remember. Wims, Thomas Wim. This T Wim success. So T is threonine, V for valine, I for isoleucine, M for methionine. And this join succinate through a pathway called propionic acid pathway. Just remember the name. This is actually very important pathway for MD1. If you remember right now, it will be helpful. This amino acid will go through propionic acid pathway. And this 2, toffee for me, and this AA-ox. You can remember this. So this is what I told here. Can you see? Vim will join succinate. Did you understand right now?